free farm. Looking for new floors? Then look no farther. Linden Design has the latest in flooring to get your home or office up to the latest. All right. Engineered hardwood, parquet, carpet, vinyl plank, or lemon. They have the colors and patterns that will turn your home or office into a showplace. With pricing that will meet your budget, they will turn one room or your entire space into a look that will keep you pleased. Call Linden Design today. 494-4317 or lindendesign.com.
You might be stuck between knowing you can sell your property and hassle of putting it on the MLS. I'm Brady Brandon, owner of Samuel Property. Sell your property as is and get a fast cash offer with no MLS, no strangers walking through your home, and no hassle. We pride ourselves on honesty, living with high integrity, and giving you the best fast cash offer without the MLS. Do local business with the local. Check out our 5-star rating on Google and visit SamuelPropertyGroup.com today to learn how you can have a check in hand in as little as 10 minutes.
It's like it's more than time.
This is my house. I built this. This is my house, and this will always be my house. Now let's continue.
Because I love me some me. I love me some me.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man.
We're gonna win so much, you may even get tired of winning.
And now, the Morgan Thomas.
It's the Morgan Thomas Show here on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar for the next 2 hours at The Roar After Dark here in the lovely Upcountry Fiber Studios, where we're providing you a stronger connection. And joining me, as always, every single Tuesday night, well, almost every single Tuesday night, is Big Al, my good friend, my longtime friend. Big Al, welcome in.
Good to be here. Nice Thanksgiving holiday. Good rivalry win. Get back on the right side of things. So Clemson took care of business. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But, yeah, some good stuff overall. So glad to be here on Tuesday night.
Rivalry win. Rivalry win.
Ooh.
You say it too fast.
It's hard to say.
Then I'm over. It's over with.
It's true.
I can't do it.
You got to concentrate.
So I say the Gamecock loss. I got to see the game. I got to enjoy the game with some of my family members in Edisto, Big Al. Last time we ever went on a vacation together. You know where that was?
It was in Edisto, in fact.
And I remembered where we stayed, and I drove by there. It still looks the same.
Oh, is that right?
10 years later. We got to get back there. So I'll tell you about my trip to Edisto. Tons of Clemson fans there. Big shout out to everybody there that watched the game. I was not shocked, but impressed for sure. Also joining us, not really joining us, but kind of working the ones and twos in the background as she does, all kinds of different things. She's got 5-6 things going on tonight. That is producer Ramona. Welcome in.
Hey, Morgan.
Now, Ramona,
Hey, Al.
I have to go ahead and say this. Okay. But I don't know if you've noticed, but you didn't have Walt here today, but have you seen the Roar's latest post on Twitter, X, where they talk about the Roar Pick'em contest? Have you seen where we're at right now?
I have seen where I am in first place.
You are in first place.
You are tied with second place.
I am
now with
tied.
Walt and I think Mike, right?
Walt, Mike, right now, overall 69 wins and 57 losses. So I got a positive over on Vegas.
Nice.
So against games that are the top games of the week. So that's even harder, I think, personally, than poaching the ones that you think are easy. So 69 wins, 57 losses. Mike also 69, 57. And then you have Walt, who is 69, 57, which, by the way, Walt started out with a bang. I mean, he was out the gate quick. And the past 2 weeks have kind of hurt him. So it's allowed not only me, but the morning crew in general to catch up.
Oh, yeah, the morning crew. The people that get up early in the morning.
Those people.
I don't understand.
Not like you.
No.
I went 8-2 last week. I was very impressed. I out of the gate, I won Mississippi State. I just felt like every time I pick
Ole
Miss, it never works. Lane Kiffin he always lets me down.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? No way. Everybody else on the morning show picked or the morning crew picked Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And so I was the lone wolf there. Me and Faxon actually Faxon and Walt were the ones that picked it. Oregon also, I felt like Oregon was going to destroy Oregon State. And I felt confident, really confident in that game. And I do feel confident for Oregon going against Washington this weekend.
Mhm.
I'm continuing my confidence with the Ducks. So quack, quack, quack.
Love
Ducks
it.
fly together.
Always. Flying V, baby.
So I'm thinking the Ducks again.
Yeah.
Oregon beating Oregon State by more than 14. Good pick for me. Also, Ohio State, Ryan Day. He's got a very unlikable personality, in my opinion. I don't really like him. I don't know about you. No, you don't like. Okay. Well, Ohio State, Ryan Day now 1-3 versus Michigan, and I think 1-6 against top 20 or top 5 teams. He's not very good against the best teams. Now he's undefeated against like the not so good teams. But when it comes to playing the difficult games, he has a problem with his win percentage.
Sure.
And so I didn't have any faith, especially with it being not at their home. I didn't have any faith in Ohio State. And so considering they won that game, that meant, I agreed with that one too. So I got that one. Louisville and Kentucky. I also picked Kentucky because guess what? For whatever reason, Louisville never beats their rival.
Ever.
They're like the South Carolina of Kentucky, of that state.
Yeah.
They in many times, I feel like have a better team.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, cannot figure out how to beat the blue.
SEC gauntlet, baby.
It is. And Louisville is one of those ACC teams, much like Duke of old, much like, now this year, not so bad, Georgia Tech's, those teams that you're just like, why are you playing the SEC teams? You keep ruining the overall record.
That's right.
Because you keep playing those teams. Duke playing Alabama. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
You keep ruining those schedules. You keep ruining those records. You make the ACC look bad. Now, the ACC this year actually looked pretty good. They have a winning record against the SEC. So, but Louisville didn't get it. I did pick Alabama to cover 14.5 in Auburn. I should have known better.
Yeah.
And I think that this has really put me in a bad spot going into this weekend for Alabama. I'm not going to tell you what I think about the game because I want to talk about the game specifically, Alabama, Georgia, SEC championship game. But Alabama burned me this past weekend. And they started to make me kind of take a step back and say, maybe this year's not the year. Now, Kirby Smart, I believe, is 1-4 against Alabama. So we will see. But I think he could be 2-4.
Sure.
So next up on the list for the Roar Pick'em contest was Florida State versus Florida. I picked Florida State. I think that was another one I lost because it was 6.5 points. No. They won by 9.
Yeah.
So I won that one. The other one I lost, let's see, what was it? North Carolina. North Carolina could not beat North Carolina State by 3. They actually didn't even win the game. So North Carolina Tar Heels. Go figure. You
picked Georgia Tech, I see.
I did pick Georgia Tech because I thought, one, Georgia hasn't impressed me. And I felt like Georgia Tech is a better team than they've ever been.
And they played really well in that game.
They did. And so I had all the confidence in the world. Also, Washington State. Washington's been on the down for me.
Yep.
So I feel like Washington State, Cameron Ward, which, by the way, Cameron Ward, I heard he's going in the portal.
Yep.
Their star quarterback going in the portal.
See you later.
Have you seen who's in there now?
No.
I mean, it is a madhouse right now.
I don't doubt it.
It's not even open yet. It's like Black Friday. The doors aren't even open. These players are lined up. They're pitching a tent outside the NCAA office.
Mm-hmm.
If that's how you do it, I don't know, but I think that's how you do it.
Oh, sure.
I think you have to go to where would the NCAA office be?
No idea.
Charlotte?
No idea.
No. But Richmond?
You can say wherever you want. I'm still not gonna have any idea.
Somewhere in Ohio. Somewhere in Ohio. That's where they always put these places. Somewhere in Ohio. That's where the office is. That's where all these players are lined up. It's like Black Friday, doorbuster deal. Get into a new team. You can have one. 50% off. Quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Actually, quarterbacks probably not 50%, 50% more for quarterbacks.
More than that.
Half off offensive linemen. Who needs that one? Not this team. Not the team in this area. Half off. Yeah, they actually do. Sorry, they do. Georgia Tech, I picked them. Washington State, picked them. And I finally picked Clemson to the enjoyment of Bill on the YouTube channel. To the enjoyment of Bill, I picked Clemson because every time I don't pick Clemson, he tells the entire X world, the social media world, he tells everybody, hey, by the way, he tweets at whoever he can. By the way, did you see where Morgan didn't pick Clemson? He's not a real Clemson fan.
Public
and
shaming.
He's not a real, I want to see his diploma.
I'm here for it.
I get it. Sometimes you can't go with your heart. My dad always says, do not bet with your heart. We're not betting with real money, but still, you got to stay away from your heart.
Sure. Because
it can play tricks on you. Love, man. Love can be a crazy thing.
Dangerous game.
Yeah, exactly. That's where it's going. We have a fun show for tonight. We got 2 hours, right? You're going to get ready for not only the games this weekend, you're going to get ready for some of the transfer portal news and the declaring for the NFL draft. We're going to look at the Clemson roster because I'm a roster management analyst nerd here. We are going to do that. And then also we're going to look at the big games like Florida State, Georgia, Oregon. And, we've got to talk about Bobby Petrino. We have to talk about Bobby Petrino. Al, do you know why we're talking about Bobby Petrino?
This is news to me.
You don't know anything about Bobby Petrino?
I know who Bobby Petrino is. And that's
you do.
it.
Well, Bobby Petrino is the reason why I say stay away from a motorcycle if you're a married man.
I knew that. But
that's why I get nervous when Dabo gets on his motorcycle. Who knows where? Got to be careful, man. I know Dabo's not going anywhere bad, but I would say the biggest thing is we're going to talk about the games this weekend. That's going to be fun, and then also after the show is the pregame show to the Clemson men's basketball game tonight against ranked Alabama. Now, I'm not a big basketball aficionado. But I know that Don Munson, Tim Beret, and Ben Milstead are over there in Alabama getting ready to do this game, and they're excited about it. They're setting things up, so we will be handing off to them after this show, starting at 9:00, and then the game, I believe, starts at 9:30.
It does.
So it's a late game. Hopefully you can stay up. At Alabama, 23rd in the country, 9:30, 8.5 right now. The line's getting a little bit higher. When I looked at it an hour ago, it was at 7.5.
Okay.
So we've gone up to 8.5 now. Clemson right now 5-0 overall. Alabama 5-1 with their loss to Ohio State, 92-81. I'll tell you what, Alabama, when you look at their just look at the box scores, they can score.
Yeah.
They're putting up, triple digits.
Yep.
And that's more NBA type level kind of numbers. But Clemson is not at that level of scoring. But I think that they can hang in this game. We'll see. I got some more thoughts about it. I don't want to go too far into it before we do. Al, I did want to go back and mention, this weekend was a great weekend for me. Black Friday, Thanksgiving. Honestly, I don't think I had one bad piece of turkey.
That's good.
The honey baked ham was a little dry. Somebody brought and paid for honey baked ham's kind of expensive.
Yeah.
And somebody paid for that, brought that in. It was kind of dry. So
how do you dry out a ham?
Oh, man.
I mean, you don't even cook it because they bring it.
You did not cook Thanksgiving, and here you are.
I didn't cook it. Nobody cooked it. Honey baked ham cooked
Thanksgiving.
it. Honey baked ham cooked it. I didn't cook it. They didn't cook it. They got it in a bag with a barcode. No, I mean, but it tasted okay. It was like the, honey glaze. It was sweet, but it was a little dry.
Sure.
The turkey, though, wifey made a turkey breast.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, it was amazing.
Even if it wasn't, you would say so on it.
No, I don't have to lie about my wife's cooking. She is a good cook, that's for sure.
I
think that that was good. We didn't have any green bean casserole. That would be more on my dad's side of the family.
Yep.
So I was kind of disappointed in that.
We had some green bean casserole.
But let me tell you, I probably ate 3 pecan pies.
It's good stuff.
Whipped cream, pecan pie, all good. And my mom's birthday, 65 years old. Happy birthday, Mom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we threw a little party for her.
Excellent.
Annabeth made the chocolate cake.
How'd that go?
So it was pretty cool. It was cool. But so I stayed in Edisto, right? And there's a Wyndham property over there in Edisto.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something. You can rent. I mean, I would recommend it for this. I wouldn't normally go to the beach I have never been to the beach in the cold in the winter. I don't even, you can't really call it winter yet, but
Sure.
in the late fall.
Yeah.
I've never been to the beach at this time of the year. And so they decided to, get a couple of places in the Wyndham. And so we went, and let me tell you, played some pickleball, 1-1. I beat my aunt and uncle, and I lost to my cousins, but they were more skilled than me. They had more practice.
I can see that.
Let me tell you something. It's kind of like canoeing. If you do it with your wife, be careful because divorce is on the way.
Yeah.
Paddle left foot, left, right,
Other left.
Yeah. You know what? It's the same with canoeing. That's, when we went on our honeymoon, doing the canoe.
Yeah.
It was like, oh boy, this marriage is doomed.
Yep.
And then we did pickleball. It was another one of those moments like, backhand, do a better backhand.
Accidental backhand to the face.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We're about to be on 14 years this May.
It's a long time.
So you know what? The canoe and the pickleball, we made it through.
Yeah, I lost that bet.
But another thing we did is we biked. We biked around Edisto. It's probably one of my favorite experiences.
Yeah.
I recommend it to anyone that's out there. And as we were biking, tons of Clemson flags.
I mean,
everybody. I mean, there were a couple of South Carolina flags.
Sure.
They were actually like the really small ones. I saw a ton of Clemson flags, like giant banners. I mean, they really went all out for this.
As it should be.
And obviously the game did not disappoint as far as the win and loss goes.
Correct.
But we will talk about that after the break. We'll get into the game, some of our thoughts. We want to keep, enjoying the victory, even though it was last weekend. We want to continue with that and give you some of our final thoughts before we head into our discussion on the games this weekend that don't involve Clemson. It's kind of weird to say, we're going to have to be sitting there and be spectators this weekend.
That's right.
But, it is what it is. I mean, 8-4 overall. I think Clemson has a great chance to be 9-4, depending who their opponent will be. We'll have to speculate about that, but we will do that. That much and more. You can check me out over on X at The Morgan T Show. I'll have my roster. I just put it out there, my way too early 2024 Clemson roster, so you can see who's there, who might leave, who may not leave, what my speculation is. You can speculate yourself over on Twitter at The Morgan T Show. Also, I'm doing a live show right now as we speak, not just here on The Roar, but you can see behind the scenes and during the show over on YouTube, The Morgan Thomas Show, Facebook, The Morgan Thomas Show as well. And you can get in. This is, again, my show with my name, but it's a show with you too. You can get in. Let me know what you think, what your thoughts, concerns, emotional outbursts are over on the Adams & Co. Roofing text line, 864-654-7627. And you can also call that number. Please call. Get in. Let's talk about it. I would love to get your thoughts tonight and much, much more right after this on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar.
Here with Morgan Coleman, real estate professional.
You're clear.
Thank you. Okay, let's check the text line here.
Being a former Clemson athlete has given me the tools that I have easily transferred into my professional career. I have a team first mentality and create a team with my clients, along with the other individuals involved.
Al, you doing all right?
Doing good. Mention, I'm able to tap into my competitive. The air is a little more crisp. Yes, I am your real estate professional. Throughout the buying and selling process.
Yeah, the air is a little bit more crisp. That's for sure.
There are many other steps necessary to successfully reach the closing table on time. I'll be your best advocate and would love the opportunity to assist you.
All right, let's see what we got in here on the chat. Let's go from the top here. Kevron Harris gets in and says, good evening, Morgan Thomas, Big Al, Alan Adams in Houston. He's got that copied because Houston hadn't been here. Yeah, Kevron, you got to change up the copy paste here. Houston did join us last week. That's right. Hunter Helms want to discuss that. We'll talk about that for sure. Hunter Helms transferring. Hello, champions of the Palmetto State. We'll talk about Clemson versus South Carolina for sure. Steel Gamble says sup. Lee Harden gets in, says, what if Dabo moved Jake to wide receiver? We'll put that in here. Jake Brenny to wide receiver. All right. have another show with Morgan not wearing the tiger paw. Clothing. Why? We'll talk about that. Congratulations, Ramona. Rest of you are out of luck. LOL. Bill says got to keep you in line. Joey says he's watching. Tiger Paw. Congratulations on picking Clemson to beat the Chickens. Glad you are doing well in the station contest. Pick with your heart and you will live longer. Okay. Are you concerned about the lack of offensive production? Lack of offensive. We will get into it. We will get into it. Al, I'm going to throw you some questions about Jeremiah Trotter. Just some thoughts about him leaving, stuff like that.
Yep. Could upset some people with those thoughts, maybe.
Upstate alcohol enforcement teams are enforcing underage drinking laws to save lives. When officers catch a minor with alcohol, they ask, who gave it to you? Don't let it be used.
Pulling up the roster here.
Mm-hmm.
And we got about 30 seconds. We'll be right back.
Did you do just a roster, or did you do like a starting 11 offensive defense prediction?
I didn't, but this is the roster. Everybody in red is red-shirted already. And this is before Jeremiah Trotter and Hunter Helms left. This is early this morning. I'll update it tomorrow too. Welcome back into the Morgan Thomas Show on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar with Ramona and Big Al by my side. And also you as well. You can get in Adams & Co. Roofing text line 864-654-7627. Some people have already gotten in and said they also go to Edisto every year and eat at the Seal, best grits and pancakes around. I didn't eat at the Seal. I ate at Waterfront, and man, it was some really good shrimp. I usually go with the jumbo shrimp when I go to seafood. Mm-hmm. Al, when you go to the beach, do you feel like you're obligated to eat seafood?
At times. We have to go at least one seafood night. So
I think so. I mean, yeah. I hate it when my family members, who are usually the Gamecock family members, they say, well, we don't want to eat seafood. I said, well, why'd you drive out here?
Yeah, you're at the beach.
I mean, what are you doing?
Got to do it at least once.
I mean, you don't want to go to the beach either, I'm assuming. I mean, you got to eat seafood when you're, near the coast. That's my rule. I actually would prefer to eat seafood every single night.
Wow. Okay.
I would eat jumbo shrimp, popcorn shrimp. You're supposed to be like, yeah.
All the shrimp.
Scallops.
Shrimp scampi.
Yeah. Shrimp scampi.
We're going to go bubble gum here.
Garlic shrimp. Broiled shrimp.
There you go. That was a good one.
What do you call it? Cocktail shrimp. You know what? Flounder, not my favorite. Flounder kind of fishy.
Flounder. No, it was okay. I was getting that confused. So I had grouper one of the last times I went to the beach. Very expensive, by the way, but it's amazing. So I like grouper.
Salmon. No,
I love salmon. Good blackened salmon.
You could go with crab cakes, scallops. Fried oysters. I can do fried oysters.
You can do fried anything.
Yeah, actually, yes, true. I can do fried, the calamari or whatever.
Yeah.
I can do raw. I can do sushi, octopus and stuff like that. Squid, octopus. I love sushi, but I don't get sushi at the beach because then it's too close to real life. I get sushi when I'm at home. I get sushi close to the
you get old coast. Sushi.
Yeah. I get I just don't want to be. I don't want to eat. I don't want to do that to somebody so close to their home.
Yeah, sure.
Fried shrimp, that's great. Fried fish all the way for sure. Oysters on a half shell, can't do it.
Never tried.
Raw oysters, can't do it. My dad, he probably can do it.
No
he loves
explanation.
it. I mean, he could just knock them back. But me, no. No. Now fried oysters, again, all day.
It's fried.
So, but yeah, so I had a good time. Didn't get to go to the Sea Cow. We also go there a lot,
Yep.
you know, but, you know, good times there in Edisto. Great weather, really. I mean, even though it was cold, but it was pretty cool. My daughter got to play in the beach. And we got to see Clemson beat South Carolina 16-7 in, you know, to be honest with you, I want to be positive. John Haidt has been coaching me private lessons on how to be more positive. Faxon has also been coaching me on how to be more positive. And I want to say that I'm glad that the team won.
Yeah.
Okay. Positive number one.
Yep.
Positive number two is that I think that the running game was really good. Considering what we knew after the fact, which we didn't know going in, that this was the Michael Jordan flu game.
Right.
Now we know that it was the flu game. And we know that there was a concern with health, with energy, and with stamina and strength to get through the game. We know that there was a concern from the flu and being able to practice and being ready for that game. So we know that there was some outside factors there. We also know that Dabo Swinney elected, based on his feel of the game, to run the ball more. They ran it 46 times and got 219 yards, 4.8 yards per carry, no rushing touchdowns, no touchdowns at all on the offense.
Yeah.
And that's where, okay, all right, let me go back. I got to go back to positive.
Yep.
I'm starting to get, did you feel me?
If you need to be negative, throw it to me.
Did you feel me there? getting negative? Okay, let me go back. Cade Klubnik had a nice 19-yard run.
He did.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there because I
good.
can go negative with that one
That's
too.
good.
I can go negative. All right, I'm going to stay away from that. Another thing is Tyler Brown had a huge catch, 39-yarder. That was nice.
Yep.
All right. And then the biggest positive of all, I think, on the defensive side of the ball would be Khalil Barnes. I mean, my goodness, getting the scoop and score at the very beginning, setting the tone, getting the only touchdown scored, and being that freshman. I mean, freshman of the year candidate, in my opinion. As much as he's done all season, he has exceeded expectations and then some. You know, I told you he was a great guy when I first met him. His dad's a pastor. He was the homecoming king. He, by the way, can be a quarterback too. He can also play quarterback.
Okay.
He did at high school, but he's much better on the defensive side of the ball. As you can see, that's where they have him, and he is doing great there. I mean, 4 total tackles, an interception, 2 pass defended, and obviously that scoop and score there. Him and, you know, Makuba doesn't get a lot of credit there. But the fact that he tackled him, I said this to John too, the fact that he tackled him and held on to Leggett. He could have kind of just weakly tackled or basically played because they're pretending there was a whistle, though there was not.
Right.
A lot of players do that. They think, oh, there will be a whistle, so I might as well stop.
That's right.
Nope. He continued through, and it allowed him, Leggett, to not be able to recover, and it allowed Barnes to take it to the house. Also, I think, you know, it would go without being said here. We cannot state enough how big this impact is of Jonathan White's, and going 3 for 3. 1 from 50 yards. I think all of them from 40 plus. So 3 for 3, huge, because that was 9 points difference. That was the difference in the game there.
Yeah.
They didn't have to go the length of the field because White's was money with his leg. Huge clutch performance in the last regular season game, the last South Carolina game of his lifetime, of his career. And, then to hear the story afterwards about his dad saying that they practiced as a kid, this will be the kick. Man, I'm going to get emotional on this. This will be the kick that beats the Gamecocks. I mean, I do that with Annabeth with softball. You know, I'll say, I know you guys out there do that too.
Oh, yeah.
I know the listeners out there that have kids, maybe even, or you're just an uncle. Maybe you're a funkle. I know you go out there and you say what I say. Hey, bases loaded. 2 strikes, 3 balls. You gotta hit this. You gotta bring Valerie Cagle home.
Yep.
You know, something like that. All right. I'm starting to do it with Annabeth now that I'm teaching her pitching. I say, hey, you got to be Valerie Cagle here. 2 strikes, 3 balls. Oklahoma's best hitter is up. You got to throw a strike here. And now I think I'm going to add in South Carolina.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to go ahead and indoctrinate them so they get used to it, so they can be ready for when they play the game.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that was an absolutely massive performance by him, and it's something nobody saw coming. Look, Dabo will probably come out and say, "Oh yeah, we see him doing this in practice all the time." Yeah, Dabo did not see that performance coming. I can promise you that. That was unbelievable. In the clutch, we needed him to show up big. We didn't realize it at the time necessarily that we needed him to show up big, but he did, and it was awesome to see because he's been inconsistent this year. We know a lot of people talk about his miss against Florida State or whatever it may be, but man. We decided, after it was 4-4, we got to beat the Gamecocks, and that's really all anybody cared about. It was awesome that we were able to win all 4 of those games and against some good competition. But the fact that he was able to go in there under those circumstances in that environment and nail 3 long field goals was just unreal to watch.
I think so. I think, there's obviously a ton of positives there out of that game because you get the win and it's 365 days of bragging rights that you no longer have to deal with we're 1 point better than you.
That's right.
You're a good team, but you're not 1 point good. You're not good for that 1 point, right? Whatever the Gamecocks like to say. Obviously, as a Clemson grad, Clemson fan, we're both here kind of on the other side. So I'm not going to even pretend to be unbiased. I hate that when people are like, well, I'm going to try to call this, as unbiased as possible. You should do that when you're calling the game, Kirk Herbstreit style.
Yeah.
But, we're a talk show here. We're an opinion show here. And I don't want you to feel like I'm being disingenuous. I want you to feel like that, hey, where I come from. Yeah. I'm a Clemson grad. I'm a Clemson fan.
That's right.
And I'm not going to bash the Gamecocks because I do feel like that they had some bright spots on their own. I felt like their defense, I did not expect their defense to hold this team to no touchdowns on offense.
Did their defense hold us to no touchdowns, or did our offense hold us to no touchdowns?
I mean, I think their defense played pretty good. In my opinion.
Yeah, I think they played all right. I think we had a lot of missed opportunities there. And that's something you can't talk about because it would be negative. I thought Cade had a lot of trouble seeing the field, which, he struggled with at times this year anyways, and reading the defense. There were guys open, a lot of guys open. And the times he actually saw the guys that were open, he hit them and they dropped it. We had, I think both of our backup tight ends had a drop. I think Sapp and Olsen Pat Henry also had a drop. Salado had the big drop. He kind of settled in behind the zone. Kay did a great job. Found him, hit him, and just right through his hands. Like, just unbelievable.
I promise you, man. I said this. They're doing him like they're doing Cade like they did DJ.
That's right, 100%.
That's exactly what I said. I said, you guys, you get open, he throws it to you. Now, Cade's not
easy.
Cade is working on improving his field awareness and situational awareness and his ability to find open guys.
Yeah.
Cade's working on that.
Yeah.
He's
going to need to.
He's working on it.
Yeah.
All right. So now when he throws it to you and it hits you in the hands, and I thought that one with Troy Stellato, I was like, well, maybe that was a little bit behind him. No, it wasn't.
No.
It was right.
You have to catch that
there. And that would have, and those are the kind of plays, and the Olsen Pat Henry. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
You get your opportunity to get out there and you drop the ball. Now, I will say, you didn't have Bo Collins. You didn't have Antonio Williams.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have Sage Ennis. So this team has been beaten up. And you don't have Walker Parks. This team on the offensive side of the ball was already not a very good roster.
100%.
And then they got hurt.
Yeah.
And that's where Dabo Swinney's got to figure it out because he can't do this again. Not for my heart.
Yeah.
He can't do it again. He's got to improve the depth. When you go look at the depth on the offense or the defensive side of the ball, even on the defensive ends, which would be the ones that you would be most concerned about, you feel really good about those freshmen.
Yeah.
And then defensive tackles, you feel good. Now, linebackers, maybe now not so much.
Mm-hmm.
But the secondary, great.
Yep.
More often than not, the defense seems to have a good rotation.
Absolutely.
The offense, on the other hand, it's like one guy gets hurt, everything shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what happened against South Carolina. It felt like you don't have any Bo Collins, so you lose your outside guy. You can't replace him with literally anybody. I mean, Ronan Hannafin, I don't know what he's doing. Adam Randall, you don't really know what he's doing.
Yep.
There's no outside guy. Noble Johnson, really, I mean, he's not ready, I guess. So there's no outside guy there. Well, then you got your inside guy. Okay, well, you got Tyler Brown. Yeah, for sure. He had the biggest catch, right? Mm-hmm. Then you have Jake Brenningstool. But then you have Troy Stellato drops, big drop. You have Olsen Pat Henry, big drop.
Yep.
So, and then you have your running backs who did well up until a certain point.
Yeah.
It was, again, kind of a a reflection on the team as a whole, where on the offensive side of the ball, we're on the defensive side of the ball, starting with the positive.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they have it together. They know what they're about. They know what they're good at.
Yep.
They know what they're not good at. And they try to cover that up as much as they can. And they try to, exemplify their good,
Yep.
And put that out there. But the bad, they just try to let's try to overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. On the offensive side of the ball, it seems like when they have good, it's like by accident in a lot, because it's so, and I'm not saying that because it is by accident, but I'm saying it happens so infrequently. The good, and the really good happens even infrequently. So, it feels like, well, it's just luck that they can get something going.
Yeah.
And so that kind of went back into what I felt like the whole season. Now there's some games that felt better than others,
right?
But it does feel like for this offense doesn't have the ability yet to put together something where it feels like they know what they're doing. They're confident in what they're doing. And it's like, go try and stop me. Right now it's like, well, let's hope we can throw something together. If not, we better have a good punt.
I'm just glad you're not going to be negative, honestly, because there was a lot of negativity in that whole speech.
Was that negative?
You basically said the offense stinks. That's what you said.
I mean,
they know all the listeners out there.
They know it.
Yeah, we know it, but you weren't supposed to say it.
Well,
you said you weren't going to say it.
I'm trying to improve.
You lied to the audience.
Well, I don't feel like I lied.
No, you did.
I feel like I said a lot of positive.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did.
All right.
Initially.
I will say this. The offense can do no wrong by getting more experience. I look forward to the bowl game to see who they play against. I want to see the younger guys because it's not going to count against their one game.
Yep.
So we know that the postseason doesn't count against it. So I want to see them get more reps and more practice because they're going to need it, because this team is a very young team.
Right.
And could potentially get even younger with players leaving.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a whole nother topic all on its own. We're going to have to get to that on the other side, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about there.
We got a ton to talk about. We're going to talk about Jeremiah Trotter, Hunter Helms. We're going to continue on some discussions that are in the chat line about Jake Brenningstool and Clemson's offensive production. And also the hire at Syracuse has some Clemson fans concerned and worried. We'll talk about that and more right after this.
Did you know that just one...
You're clear.
Hey, Morgan, who was your sports idol growing up? And what about Big Al? Ramona said it was Mick Jagger, LOL. Love you, Ramona. Was that your sports idol, Mick Jagger?
No, they just know I like the Rolling Stones.
Okay. My sports idol, so I'll say Chipper Jones. Michael Jordan, and Hulk Hogan, and what, Al? Hulk Hogan is a sports idol.
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of hated now.
What?
Ramona.
I'm told not to be negative. Nobody told me not to be negative.
Chipper Jones, Michael Jordan, Hulk Hogan, and who else was I going to say? Who did I idol? CJ Spiller. Big Al, who you got?
Well, I got to tell you, this is going to sound stupid. You're going to hate this answer. I wasn't I didn't really idolize these guys. But as far as guys I liked a lot, obviously Earnhardt would have been up there. Earnhardt would have been there. David Justice was my baseball guy. I don't know. Maybe Brett Favre, I think, would have been the other one. Something like that.
Brett Favre was definitely your idol.
Love the way he played the game. No fear. Sometimes he needed a little fear.
Shipley had a few fellows rode in a separate streeter van with the team due to sickness.
Yeah. Who's Syracuse in your hire you're talking about?
You got me bouncing with the rollout. So Syracuse hired the defensive backs coach from Georgia.
Oh, that's where he went. Okay, I
Mhm,
knew he was leaving, but I didn't know where.
Yep. My dad said Jeff Gordon.
Boo.
I did kind of like Jeff Gordon as a kid.
Yes, I know. Embarrassing.
The Rainbow Warrior. Tig says Bart Starr, O.J. Simpson, Jim Kelly, Trotter to the NFL. What about Syracuse football coach Jason? We're going to get to that. Flounder and biscuits, shrimp sandwich. I feel like I'm a little bit of a late show variety show sometimes with stuff I talk about, because it's not. I mean, I talk about going to the beach, eating food. Walt's the same way. He throws in just random stuff here and there. Usually Walt's like, "Did you hear about this story where this person died?" Like it's a.
Well, that's to include me.
Yeah.
Mr. Knickerbocker isn't just a store, it's a lifestyle. Shop 100% collegiate licensed tailgating items, gifts, decals, apparel, pet products, hats, and for all Clemson sports all year long. 4 locations to serve you.
Ronan Hannafin had more tackles than catches.
Greenville on Woodruff Road, or on like and follow on social media for new product launches. Mr. Knickerbocker, a Clemson tradition store since 1973.
Welcome back into the Morgan Thomas Show with Big Al by my side and Ramona on the ones and twos. Again, you can get in and be a part of the show. Talk about whatever you want to talk about over on the Adams & Co. Roofing text line, 864-654-7627. If you're out and about, you can also call in at the same number, 864-654-7627, and we will talk about whatever you want to talk about. I wanted to get into some discussion on some of the players that are leaving in the roster management. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., NFL draft bound. We're going to dive into that, and I got some questions for Big Al on how this affects Clemson's upcoming bowl game. I wanted to weigh in on the pros and cons of him leaving early. I mean, kind of makes sense, to me, but it's a big impact, I think, for the bowl game specifically. We don't know what bowl game it will be.
Right.
But with Jeremiah Trotter Jr. opting to not participate in the bowl game and then going to declare to the NFL draft, do you think, Al, that this decision will significantly affect the team's performance? How critical will his absence be? I mean, considering that number 54 has been the man, the general in the middle, who will replace him in the bowl game?
Yeah, it's going to have a huge impact as far as I'm concerned. I mean, he's been the guy since the Duke game. He's been the guy making plays, chopping the wood, and it's been a lot of fun to watch him play. And I think everybody could tell this whole season this guy's gone, and we knew it. And his performance has reflected that, that decision. And I understand why he's leaving. I think we all wish him the best in the NFL. But yeah, as far as the game is concerned, that's a huge impact. We're going to have to, depending on what look they want to go, you'll have Woodaz and Carter still there, hopefully, depending on, what everybody else decides to do. Does it have a ripple effect? How many people sit out, opt out, whatever it may be? We'll have to see that here in the coming days and coming weeks. But yeah, it's as far as the game outcome itself, that's a big deal.
Will Barrett Carter be there? That's the question. I guess we'll kind of have to wait and see what happens for sure. By the way, the College Football Playoff Committee just came out with their new rankings post rivalry week. Clemson now in that rating system 23rd overall, projected now to be in that Holiday Bowl. I know a lot of people kind of frustrated with that because it's in San Diego.
Yeah.
Across the country, facing none other than maybe facing Southern California.
Southern Cal. Okay, that'd be fun.
Why not wipe the floor with another USC? Just give us all of them.
100%.
Southern Columbia, Southern Charleston,
USC Upstate,
Southern Cal, Southern Carolina.
Yeah.
Give us all the USCs.
Do it.
Southern Connecticut. We'll take them all. And Clemson now 23rd overall, top 4, Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and Florida State. We'll discuss that when we talk about the games upcoming this week, because there are some big ones. We'll do that in the second hour. Again, this is a 2-hour show, 7 p.m., 9 p.m. As long as Ben Milstead will have us, we will continue this show and talk about all things college football and Clemson football as well. And also Clemson basketball, which is coming up tonight, 9:30, pregame show, 9 o'clock, right after this. So if you've tuned in early, we will prep you. We have some discussions in the second hour leading into that as well about the Clemson basketball game against that SEC power, former number 1 seed, Alabama.
Yeah.
Continuing back on the Jeremiah Trotter discussion, I think it's going to have a huge impact. I think it's going to be it's bad for the team.
Sure.
It's good for the player. I actually don't, knock Jeremiah Trotter Jr. for going to the NFL draft, for getting ready for the NFL Combine. He is the highest graded starter according to Pro Football Focus this season. And his absence is going to be big, and it's going to be felt. He leads the team in tackles for loss, sacks, and he has, just been literally the general. Obviously, that pedigree, I think it's big.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Do you feel like missing one game is any kind of disadvantage to the player, or is it an advantage to the player of his caliber?
I think it's an advantage to the player. Now, I want to get your thoughts on this, because you're talking about, nobody faults him for leaving early for the NFL, and I totally agree with you. But leaving for the NFL and opting out of the bowl are two different things. Do you have a difference of opinion on leaving for the NFL versus opting out for the bowl game? Because I do.
I think that in today's day and age, with I honestly think that the bowl game, if it's not a bowl game that gets you to the national championship game, then it is a developmental game for your next year's team. So considering that his last game involved him thrusting the Clemson flag into the logo of Williams-Brice Stadium, I think that's a great send-off. I think that's a great final chapter for him. I think that the bowl game in this scenario for him is good for him to leave, good for the team to leave, because it already gets those guys in there that are going to be needing to take over his role. It's basically like an early spring game.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
That's how I feel.
Look, I think we all know my opinion on a lot of this stuff. I'm a pretty old school guy. I don't like the NIL. I don't like the portal. I don't like any of this stuff. I don't like bowl opt-outs either. I feel like when you make the commitment to play for the season, you make the commitment to play for the season, and that includes the bowl game. A lot of people want to say, if you were there and somebody was offering you millions, you wouldn't run the risk either. And I'm like, nah, that's not the case. I would be like, Dad, but you're gonna have to tell me I can't play. This is one of those things where if it's the risk is the issue, which is what most of them argue, it's too big of a risk to do that. Why are they playing against FAU? Why are they playing against Charleston Southern? We don't need them in those games either. Clemson can walk away with a win without them. Okay. And if it was a playoff game, like you said, they'd be playing, right?
They would. I think they would be.
Of course they would. Absolutely. Because it's not about the risk. It's about the goals that weren't met. That's what it's about. It's about the fact that we didn't get where we wanted to be, and now they're like, okay, forget it, and they're just going to go off. And by the way, I need to make this abundantly clear. I love Jeremiah Trotter. I'm very happy for him going to the NFL. I think he's going to do awesome. I can't wait to watch him. But I do hate, this is not a bash Trotter thing. This is I don't like opt-outs in general, all across the landscape. So I don't like that. I wish they would hang in there, because you can get hurt any day for any reason at any game. And to me, it's about playing the games that you get to play. You don't get to do it a long time. Some people get to do it less than others. Some people don't have the fortune of going to the NFL and all that kind of stuff. I just wish everybody was going to be there and continue to be part of the team and play for the team. I think it would be good for Clemson to continue that momentum going into next year, recruiting in the offseason and portal acquisitions and all that stuff. We hope at least portal acquisitions, some of us. So I think it could, pay Clemson some dividends over the long haul, like this 4-game win streak has done. And if you go in the bowl game and get another win against hopefully a quality team, that would continue on into the offseason. But, I'll get off the soapbox there, but yeah, I wish him well. Hope he does great. I hope Green Bay drafts him. That would be fun. I would like to see him there. I'd like to see a good Clemson player on my team. I don't get to see that a lot.
And obviously, with his dad being a former NFL player, it's pretty cool to see him, reach that goal.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, I don't count it against loyalty. I don't count it against anything team, sportsmanship. I don't count it against him at all. I really do. I think that this is the opportunity, and it is a good thing to move on. I really do, especially in a game that's not going to the national championship game. I think this is what you want it to be. Go ahead and let it be a developmental game for your younger players, whether it causes the team to lose or not. I don't really care. I care about getting the next group of guys the opportunity.
Sure.
So when you look at the linebacker group,
mm-hmm.
you have seniors going now, potential seniors. Now we don't know about Barrett Carter yet, but he would have been a senior. We don't know. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. would have been a true senior, so we don't know as far as like eligibility is concerned. These guys have, a lot of these guys already graduate early, but Wade Woodaz is going to be a junior, true junior there. After that, you're going to have Kobe McLeod, redshirt sophomore, and then Jamal Anderson, who did not get a redshirt this year, so he will be a true sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
So Woodaz, McLeod, Anderson. We'll yet to see on Carter. I'm going to say I assume he's going to the NFL as well, but we don't know yet. So Woodaz, McLeod, Anderson, and then redshirt freshman D. Creighton.
Yeah.
Now, D. Creighton gets counted as a redshirt. He only got to play in 4 games. They did not play him against South Carolina, which held his eligibility there. So you have 1, 2, 3. That's 4 guys that were on the team. If you take Carter and Trotter out, assumptively, Carter, those are 4 guys that are returning. Now, Woodaz gets a lot of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Anderson and McLeod also got some experience, but nowhere near the guys that they would have to try to replace.
Right.
And then you have your true freshmen, true freshmen in Drew Woodaz and Sammy Brown. Now, they still have, I believe, another linebacker possibly in the pipe still that hasn't yet committed, or maybe not. We don't know.
Correct.
But they still possibly could bring in 3 linebackers. I think it would be important to try to nail that down, to try to bring that home and get that 3rd linebacker. Al, you have to tell me his name, but
Shaw.
What's his name? David Shaw? No.
Something Shaw.
Yeah. So Drew Woodaz, Sammy Brown. Now with this, a lot of people on social media say Sammy Brown's got to step up and he's got to be ready right out the gate.
Yeah.
Do you agree or disagree with that? Considering that, did you? Because I mean, you had to have known that Trotter was leaving. So, do you believe that it has always been Sammy Brown? You better be ready, or does it not really change your thoughts on that?
I think Sammy Brown's going to have to be ready for a role. What that role will be is going to depend a lot on a couple of things. A lot of things. First of all, does Carter go or does he not go? If he goes, I think, I know people, some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it, but I think Dabo's going to have to take a long look in the portal for a linebacker, to add to the defensive end and the offensive lineman we all want. I think he's going to have to take a hard look at that. And, maybe Creighton and Anderson take a huge jump in the offseason, but is it worth that risk to think they're going to take that jump, whether they do or don't, and kind of pass on a portal player? I don't know. It's going to be a tough decision. That's why he gets paid all that money to decide. But yeah, I think Sammy Brown's going to need to be ready to go to play some type of role next season, whether it's a second string guy or whether he has to just hop right in there to a starting role.
Just doing a quick glance at linebackers from the portal. I mean, there's not any names that kind of jump off at me.
Yeah, there will be some in there.
It's still kind of early. We don't know for sure. But we know that the guys are getting their names in now.
That's right.
I think it starts on December 4th. And so that's when things will really start rolling.
Mm-hmm.
We shall see. The only one that really kind of jumps off at me is because of all the latest news under Colorado. You got Marvin Ham, 6'1", 217, redshirt junior from Colorado, 3-star guy. I know Colorado I've been seeing a lot of posts about guys either decommitting or transferring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going on there with Coach Prime. We shall see how it all shakes out. Not only that, Clemson has another player that is entered the transfer. Clemson has their own player I say another, but they have their one player that has entered the transfer portal so far, and that is Hunter Helms. Since we're at the top of the hour, or at the end of the hour, rather, I wanted to kind of hold on to that till we get back from break. But looking at the roster, you can follow me over on Twitter at The Morgan T Show, or X, if you will. I put up a post this morning for the 2024 Clemson football roster as it is without players leaving early. I right now had 91. If you take those two players out, now they're at 89 overall. Maybe there'll be another player or two. So they need to be at 85. And then to get under that, they need to be less than that to have an opportunity, even an opening for someone potentially in the portal. We shall see. We're going to talk about that and the big games of the week more, and also Hunter Helms after this. The Morgan Thomas Show on 105.5 The Roar.
WCCP FM 105.
You're clear.
Hayes Fawcett says notable names set to enter the portal here very soon.
Talk about, you don't know names. I guess you can't be specific, but just bring up the possibility in general of Clemson losing guys that they don't expect to lose. I mean, that happens all the time now.
Yeah.
Got to be prepared for that possibility.
The problem is if you go down that road, then you could be seen as negative. If you start talking about like players that could potentially get out of here. Okay, let's see.
My job today. I'm trying to help you.
What was that? It's an interesting commercial.
It's advanced, non-invasive laser technology. Imagine being free from that constant burn of tingling and numbness. Don't let peripheral neuropathy control your life. Call 864-292-6777.
Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Sumas Laser Therapy, where hope and feeling come together.
Welcome in. If you're over on Facebook, make sure to give us a like and a follow. If you're over on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and give us a like as well. Hit that like button. Help us out for sure. Let me get into the text line here. Let's see what we got. Not much, but we have a ton of stuff that I hadn't got to yet. A ton.
Okay, Morgan, since you've been on the air with us, the real estate market has changed a lot, especially over the past 6 months or so.
Let's see. Let me put this back.
The current market is back to a neutral market. During the height of COVID, we were heavily in a seller's market with about 2 months worth of active inventory on the market. Now that pendulum has swung back towards a neutral market, closer towards that 6 months worth of active inventory. We still have not fully caught up with the active inventory, but buyers have some negotiating power, and it is crucially important for sellers to get their home show ready and to be priced accordingly to the current market, not 18 months ago.
Thanks, Morgan. That's Morgan Coleman of Joan Herlong & Associates, Sotheby's International Realty. To get in touch, give her a call at 864-313-7639.
SD's Heating and Air is here to keep your family cool in the summer and warm in the winter with premium pilot units, supercharged with 100 years of superior engineering and quality manufacturing. SD's is Clemson alumni owned.
We've got a minute and we'll be back. Netflix shows of the week. Did you see Leah? Have you seen any of these?
No.
Have you seen this one?
I haven't. I intend to watch it, but
This one?
It's been a long time, but yeah.
This one? This one?
No.
This one? This one?
Yes. Great movie.
This one?
No.
Huh?
Nope.
You haven't seen Trolls? Dun, 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 dun. Hair up. Because they're demonic. That's what my mom used to tell me. My mom used to say they're satanic. The trolls. I was like, Mom, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Welcome back into the Morgan Thomas Show, hour number 2. And that was Kenny Omega introducing us in for hour number 2. You know I love my wrestling. I'll give you my 5 seconds of wrestling here, Big Al. CM Punk. And he has returned. This time he returned to...
Time's up.
All right, let's talk about Hunter Helms.
Sorry.
CM Punk returns to Survivor Series in WWE, in the place that he said he would never return to. Never say never. And also, Triple H said he would never bring him back, and he came back at the very end of Survivor Series War Games this past weekend, and what I thought was a very good pay-per-view, and highlighted the great baby faces that they had on the men's and women's divisions for sure. I think that top to bottom, the card was fun and exciting to watch from beginning to end for 3 hours. And then the very end, CM Punk came in. And of course, it's in his hometown of Chicago. The crowd popped for it, but we'll see how long it lasts. Alan, I don't know if you know much about CM Punk. He is a crowd favorite in Chicago, not so much everywhere else. And he can be a problem backstage. He was fired for calls from AEW, the rival promotion, just a month ago.
Oh boy.
Really like 2 months, I guess, for causing problems backstage.
Locker room cancer.
So he is a locker room cancer. We shall see how long he lasts there in WWE. They got a ton of momentum riding into the new year in Royal Rumble.
I'm pumped for it.
Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton returned as well.
I recognize that.
A ton of talent there on that side. So I'm still going to be watching AEW and seeing what Kenny Omega, MJF, and those Young Bucks and the FTR and those guys can do on that side of things. Also, you know, this is the variety hour here, the top of the hour, second hour. Netflix top 10 films in the United States. Number 1. We need some music for this, really. But number 1 is Leo. Have you seen this one? Adam Sandler. It's a CGI. He's a school pet. He's the school lizard who has to be taken home by the different classmates. And, you know, as he takes them home, or as they take him home, he accidentally lets them realize that he can talk.
Okay.
And it's Adam Sandler doing the dumbest voiceover ever. He does his, you know, his stupid little Adam Sandler voice.
Sure.
I don't even want to pretend to do it, but it's kind of like a coming of age kind of thing. It's a wholesome for kids they're like in elementary school and they're having these different problems and he gives them advice.
Okay. And
he freaks them out because he's a lizard that can talk.
Fair enough.
And then, you know, he gives them some advice about how to handle, you know, random things. Ramona's just dying. Handle random things, you know, as you're getting older as a kid. My daughter has seen it twice. It's the number 1 movie in the United States right now on Netflix. I could care less if I ever see it again.
Oh, not good, huh?
I just can't handle. It's a musical too.
Oh,
so
boy.
Imagine Adam Sandler singing with his stupid voice.
Well, you played that last week for the Thanksgiving.
Imagine,
and you don't like it.
Well, the Thanksgiving song.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, Walt called me afterwards. He goes, "Never play that song ever again." And I said, "Walt, you know, when you get your own show, you can pick your music. All right. But yeah, it's not my favorite song, but it's a Thanksgiving song. How many Thanksgiving songs are there? You immediately have your Halloween songs and then your Christmas songs and then Adam Sandler's Thanksgiving song. There's no other Thanksgiving song.
Gobble Gobble. That's the one my girls like. Matthew West, Gobble Gobble.
Gobble Gobble?
He's a Christian singer.
Is that kind of like Wobble Wobble? Wobble
good.
baby, wobble baby,
Good
wobble
stuff.
baby, wobble.
They always want to listen to Gobble Gobble in the car.
So we could do a remix, Gobble Baby. Wobble. No? Gobble Baby, Gobble Baby.
Yikes.
All right. The next one's up. You just tell me if you've seen them or not. Best Christmas Ever?
Negative.
Yeah, it looks like it's got Brandy in it. Lone Survivor.
I have seen that.
Mark Wahlberg.
Spoiler alert, right there in the title.
Spoiler alert?
Seriously?
Oh,
there it is.
Okay.
I saw it like
Takes a second. But.
Lone Survivor. I get it. I get it. Not, Group Survivor.
No.
Okay, got it. The Killer.
I have seen that.
It looked
decent flick. A lot of narration. So if you're not prepared for the narration, there's a lot of that going on through the whole movie. So I didn't like that element of it, but decent movie.
Okay. Minions.
I actually haven't seen it. My girls have seen it, but I haven't.
I've seen the Minions, I think. I tell you what, the funny thing about Minions is it's like a accurate representation of having boys under 10 years old.
Sure.
I mean, literally, we have girls. You do, I do. They're just angels.
Oh, yeah.
They literally do nothing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They never break anything. They never argue. They never fight. They are just angels. I mean, they always eat all their meals. And they sit still at class and at dinner time. They go to bed on time. They sleep all through the night. Girls are just perfect.
Yeah.
The apple of dad's eye. Boys, on the other hand, they're minions. They might as well be shooting rocket launchers at each other out there.
And sometimes they are.
And pulling each other's hair and going shooting each other to the moon. That's how my nephews are. I mean, they're like wrangling cats. They're like wrangling minions. They're going to try to take over the world. That's for sure. But I love them. I love them still. That's what I get when I see the Minions. Spider-Man Across the Universe. I saw the first one, Into the Universe, I think, and hated it.
I've not seen the animated Spider-Man.
I don't really like that Spider-Man. No. A Walk in the Woods, number 7.
Nope.
I don't even know who those guys are.
Robert Redford is what it looked like.
Is it Robert Redford? Is that Robert Redford?
It's
no,
old.
I don't think so. No way. Maybe it is old because he doesn't look like
I was about
that.
to say it would have to be an old movie.
Real Steel.
Great movie.
With Hugh Jackman?
Yeah, I love anything Hugh Jackman does.
I don't think I've ever seen Real Steel. What is it? I mean, is it robotic boxing?
Yep, pretty much.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
It's good stuff, though. You would like it, I think.
Isn't there like an actual game where you can do robotic boxing? Like
where the head pops up?
Yeah, what do you call that?
I don't remember what they were called.
Maybe you get it for me for Christmas.
I probably will.
All right, thanks. See You in Venus.
On Venus.
Oh. See.
Those 2-letter words are tough.
Oh, yeah. See You on Venus. That doesn't look like anything. That looks like something my wife would watch.
Yeah, I'll pass.
And then Trolls.
Pass on that one as well.
What?
I haven't seen Trolls.
Very,
very little.
Anna Kendrick? Justin Timberlake?
I like Justin Timberlake in acting, but as we know, inferior as far as Backstreet Boys are concerned. So,
oh yeah,
yeah.
Well, that's your top 10 Netflix this week. Most of them I haven't seen. I definitely don't. Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
There you go.
There you go. Thank you, chat, for telling us over on YouTube at the Morgan T Show over on X or Twitter, the Morgan Thomas Show over on YouTube and Facebook. I appreciate everyone. Make sure you hit the like button and share and subscribe as well. We're going to continue with our discussion about things that actually matter, and that is another transfer or a transfer going in. That's Hunter Helms, the quarterback for Clemson, is entering the transfer portal. How will this impact Clemson's depth chart going into 2024? I think this is where people are now kind of worried, Big Al, because you've got Paul Tyson. Now, some people say, Morgan, your sheet is wrong because you have Paul Tyson. No. Dabo said when he picked him up that he has 2 years.
Right.
Uncle Paul is going to be there for 2 years. So I assume that Paul will stay one more year. Paul Tyson, he will be a graduate. Now I think it's needed even more because without him, all you have left is Cade Klubnik and Christopher Vizina. How do you feel about that kind of depth chart going into 2024? Honestly, considering the fact that they didn't really play Hunter Helms and they definitely didn't play Paul Tyson and they definitely didn't really play Christopher Vizina, I'm kind of worried.
What about Trent Pearman?
Okay. You want my positive answer?
I mean, you're the one that said you're going to be positive.
I think that Pearman is, when I saw him at scrimmages, I actually liked what I saw, but he's not a scholarship quarterback.
Right.
But he did really, really good at Daniel High School. Oh man, I know the chat just blew up with me just saying that.
I feel like the situation going into next year is very similar to what it was this year, to be honest with you. So I don't really have much of an issue.
You think it's similar?
I mean, similar this year was Cater bust. It's going to be the same thing pretty much next year, unless Vizina comes along.
So it was Cater bust with 4. Now it's Cater bust with 3 because they're not bringing anybody in.
Well, there's still 4 if you're counting Pearman.
Oh, well, okay. I guess you're.
So it was Cater bust.
Are you going to be okay with those 4? Is that? Does that make you happy?
No, you never want to. I say that. I mean, it's just the time we live in right now with the portal era and everybody's leaving to do whatever. I mean, that's just kind of the way it's going to be. I don't think you're going to be able to stack that quarterback talent that we've been able to do before. Now, I mean, one could argue. I mean, your backup is a 4-star guy, very highly thought of quarterback, in Christopher Vizina. So, your idea would be for him to develop over this offseason and become a viable backup. I mean, and then you would have 2 quality quarterbacks. And I think that's about as much as you can hope for nowadays.
Now, social media has told me that it's time for Clemson to go into the transfer portal. Now Faxon fielded a question about this because there are a couple of guys that have big names into the portal now. You've got Kansas State's Will Howard, a senior, 6'4", 210, former 4-star guy. He has entered the transfer portal. He's a dual threat type guy. He led Kansas State to some big wins in his career. And then you have Tyler Van Dyke, TVD from Miami, 4-star guy. He also is a junior he is a junior, 6'4", 229. He is also looking for a new home. And then you had what was discussed on Faxon's show between Howard and Will Rogers. Will Rogers is a senior, 6'2", 200. Now he's coming from Mississippi State. Now here's why I like Will Rogers as an option.
Okay.
Now any of these guys, Van Dyke, Howard, Rogers, Tyler from Texas Tech, any of these guys are going to be guys that are going to have to fight Cade Klubnik for a starting position and could potentially win. So that's where your danger is there.
Yeah.
Because what happens if they win in the spring and then you lose Cade Klubnik in May?
He's gone.
So that could be your issue there. But maybe, just maybe, you'd rather have Will Rogers or Will Howard or Tyler Van Dyke or Tyler Slow or whoever that may Max Johnson. I don't know. I know that's the big debate now. It's the fun debate because this is transfer portal season right now.
Right.
The next 2 or 3 weeks are going to be heavy on this. Ramona's going to be transfer portal till she's blue in the face. She's going to be fielding calls about it 24/7. She's going to be responding to emails and mail and snail mail and everything and texts and everything. So, and Walt and everybody on this show is going to be talking about transfer portal. So, Al, do you think it even matters? Should we even be worried about this? Is Clemson truly Klubnik or bust?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's the way it's going to be. I think that's kind of Dabo's MO for sure. And again, I still think, even though Cade has a lot to improve on over the offseason, particularly upstairs, with his timing, with his reading of defenses and that kind of stuff.
His attic.
His attic. That's right. He's got to clean that out. I mean, it's. I think he's got the ability, though. I think he's got the speed, the athleticism. I think he's got the moxie, if you want to call it. That's a cool word to say on the radio, right? And I think he's got the arm talent. I think he's got all the ability, the physical ability in the world. So it's going to be fun to see whether he can take that next mental step. When to get rid of the ball, when to run, when to step up into the pocket. Who's your hot read? Who's going to be the open man kind of deal? Can he do that? And again, I certainly think that he could be that guy. I mean, this is going to sound, oh boy, I don't want to say this on the radio. I'm going to say it anyways because it's going to be fun, but I don't mean it the way people think. But Joe Burrow was a really bad quarterback until he was the best in the country. You know what I mean? And so I think it can happen. People can take big jumps over off seasons.
Can it happen? I mean, Bo Nix did not, but here's where I will fight back on that. Bo Nix
You're not wrong, by the way.
Joe Burrow had to change teams and staffs.
Sure.
Now, Bo Nix went from
Bo Nix did the same thing.
2,200 passing yards to almost 4,000.
That's right.
And the most passing yards this season is where Bo Nix is at right now.
Yep.
That to me, is that possible? Now, I would love to say, hey, Cade Klubnik can go from 2,600 passing yards, which is where he is now. All right, Al, let's do some math here.
Oh boy.
Can you crunch some numbers for me? Let me look up the calculator here on my computer here. So he's at about 2,600 passing yards, right? So do you think it's realistic for him to go 20% better? That would be 3,100 yards.
Absolutely.
What is going to help him be 20% better? Because to me, I'm not super confident the offensive line is going to get any better.
Okay.
So the offensive line to me is not going to be what helps him get 20% better. So what helps him get 20% better?
So I don't think you're necessarily wrong about that. I think, again, it's one of those, especially depending on what we may or may not do in the portal as far as offensive line goes and as far as the development of our current guys go. But I think the offensive line is more, we're in a show me mode there. But I think Cade just improving his reads and when to step up can make him 20% better on his own. And with no help whatsoever, but not to mention the fact, if we have a healthy wide receiver core, I think we're going to take a big jump in wide receiver production next year.
So you're telling me that Cade Klubnik can improve by 20%.
Yep.
Without any other changes on this team.
I think so.
If he improves his pocket presence,
yep,
his situational awareness, his decision making and reading,
yep,
and progressions, footwork,
that's right,
knowing when to run, when not to run. Those are all things that he can do.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's what Garrett Riley's number one task is, to try to figure that out with him?
Yes, 100%.
Beyond a doubt. That's why he's Garrett
here.
Riley, number one.
Yeah.
Try to get into Cade Klubnik's head. What would be your percentage of faith in Cade going 20% better?
I think so. On his own?
On his own. Well, not on his own. I'm saying with the help of Dabo, with the help of Garrett Riley, what is your percentage of faith 2024 that Cade is 20% better because of his own changes?
Can I add in? Okay, so I was about to say, so I can't add in the wide receivers being healthy or anything like that.
You can't add anything else.
What's my confidence level?
Let's say by itself right now, and now I'll let you add in the other stuff in a minute.
Sure, and I think that's fair. My confidence level, I don't want to say. I mean, oh boy, this is the ride the fence answer, but I don't really have a confidence level. I'd say I'll 50% because I don't get to see those things behind the scenes. I don't get to go to the practices like you do. I'm not special like Morgan Thomas.
I don't only get to go to like one scrimmage. I don't abuse it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Garrett Riley was brought here for a reason. I thought he did well with what he had to work with this year. I thought we had a lot of guys running open, this season, and we did not have that last year a lot from what I saw. I like the route trees. We're using the middle of the field more. I think he's opening things up. So I have a lot of faith in Garrett Riley. I think he's going to be able to get this thing turned around. He's got to get Cade turned around. So if you want me to lean one way, I'm saying 51%. How about that? I'll go over halfway that he gets Cade that 20%.
If Cade has a big spring game, which Clemson hasn't had a big spring game in like 5 years.
Yeah.
If Clemson and Cade Klubnik's team has a big spring game, do you feel like that would be where you would first see it? That he's made the 20%? Those changes?
I don't put a lot of stock in the spring game, so no, absolutely
So we will truly have to wait.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, well, you're also going to have to wait because we've got break right after this. We're going to talk more Clemson football, and we're going to get into the games of the week. But before this, here's a message from our sponsors.
You're clear.
Yeah, what's Dylan doing? Yeah, I do. I mean, we don't really need Dylan. We need to talk about the games of the week. I mean, he can if he does. Can you text him and say, call in now if you can? My phone's like 5%. All right. So we talked about Jeremiah Trotter. We talked about Hunter Helms. I didn't say anything about Bobby Petrino. I guess I'll talk about Bobby Petrino and then Georgia, Florida State, and Oregon games. We'll do that. That's what we'll do next.
Are you a veteran needing help with your VA claim? Have you filed a claim, but it's been a long time since you've heard from the VA? Robert Surface, a certified VA attorney in Honeypath, South Carolina, can help. Call him at 864-235-0886 for an appointment, or go to his website at surfacelawfirm.com. Let's sit
sit down together and talk about your GA plan and come up with a solution. Call 864-235-0886 today.
Attention Clemson fans, Salty Price Golf Carts has expanded to the upstate and has brought the fastest growing street legal golf cart brand in the world with them.
Bradley Shaw.
Salty Price
Yeah, okay.
Well, I could remember that. I was like, I was saying Shaw, I'm like, please don't ask me the first name. Please don't ask me the first name. What's his first name? Dang it.
How long did Garrett Riley work with his former QB? Well, Max Duggan was kind of a finished product. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to start saying to yourself, do you really want these quarterbacks that come from top high schools? I mean, Cade had a great offensive line and some good wide receivers. DJ also had a great offensive line, some great wide receivers. And that's my concern, is that you get a quarterback that is not used to pressure, not used to timing, not used to being under stress. Cade looks great in his high school huddle film. He looks amazing. Nothing like what you see out there. But he also has much, much, much more time. Same thing with Jaden Davis. You know, he's got a good offensive line there in Providence. So I wonder, you know, how I want to see a guy who's been tested under some crappy offensive lines and is still putting up some numbers. Because if you got to go against teams that you're not as good as, and then you're beating them, and you know, then I like you as a quarterback. But these guys that just, you know, they transfer into these schools that already have all the best team players, and they just wax all their high school teams around them. Then they come to Clemson, and it's like, what are you doing? It's like they don't know how to adjust to the speed of the game. Cade's sophomore year much better than DJ's sophomore year. Yeah, I would agree. Maybe Garrett Riley has already Welcome back into the Morgan Thomas Show on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar. We're here and we're getting ready. We're going to be leading into the Clemson men's basketball game coming up at 9:30. Pregame show, 9 o'clock. Don Munson, Tim Beret, Ben Milstead running the game there in Alabama. So we will see. Look forward. I'm going to be listening to that game on the way home. Hopefully you'll be listening to as well. I mean, much better than listening to the national network. Listen to us. Listen to the Clemson Athletic Network. And I prefer listening to that. Now, the only problem is when you watch it on TV too, then it's, you know, not synced up.
That's right.
But I prefer listening to the football game and basketball game, baseball game, basketball games, softball games on the radio.
Yeah.
I'm just this way I am.
I agree with you.
Because I also feel like, you know, there's obviously a little bit of a Clemson bias there. But there's definitely never going. You know, when I really started to feel it was when Clemson was not winning the Ohio State game.
Oh boy, yeah.
And that's when I was like, you know what? I gotta go to Don. I need Don to resurrect this experience. And you know, he did. Thankfully, he did. But you know, just hearing all the negativity towards Clemson from the national network when you're down, you don't want to hear that. So just turn it over to the Clemson Athletic Network and Don Munson, Tim Beret, and they do a great job there. So look forward to that. We will talk about the Clemson men's basketball game. So you'll get some of our thoughts at the final segment of the show. And then you'll also get the pregame show with those guys as well. So hopefully you stay tuned. It's going to be a jam-packed night. It's here, the late night shift here on The Roar. We also have our token Gamecock fan here to tell us how he feels after a devastating loss Dylan, the token Gamecock fan, welcome in, sir. We missed you. First of all, we want to say T's and P's to you and your fan base and your team as they lick their wounds and they will not be going to a bowl game. How devastating it is to lose the game that could potentially take you to a bowl to the Clemson Tigers.
Yeah, it's what it says, but there's teams in the past at 5-7 that have made bowls, so the hope's in the air for that. But what a game it was, dude. If you wanted a rock'em sock'em defensive game, if that's what you signed up for, you got what you wanted in that regard. Because the offenses on both sides were sputtering, to say that kindly.
I don't even think they were actually crunk. I don't think the starter, I don't think there was any sputtering. I think the starter was ticking like, I don't think the starter was even going.
I'd agree with that for most of it. Both the touchdowns were scored, one by your defense, like second play of the game.
Set the tone.
When I look at it, we kind of gave you guys those first 10 points you guys had, dropping that interception by Fortune. The next play, y'all kicked the field goal.
I appreciate it.
So after that, we were able to hold y'all to 2 field goals. We just couldn't make anything shake offensively. And, that's kind of what you want in a rivalry game. I love that we were able to play, seemed like with a chip on our shoulder on defense, and you guys played the same way. It was just so overwhelming on defense that the offenses couldn't really do anything.
Yeah, I think the success that you had, involved about 70 yards of holding DeMonte Capehart and Xavier Thomas for you to get a touchdown. Otherwise, I don't know if you would actually have scored a point in that game. Now, coming back from that game, that loss, leaving early, going down the toilet on the corners there, the toilet tunnel. Let me ask you, the Australian toilet tunnel, by the way. Let me ask you, Dylan, what is your thoughts going into next season? Because, Beamer was very emotional about the team and the effort and the not being able to go to a bowl game. How can this team rebound in 2024?
Well, arguably we played the toughest schedule in the country this year. And, 5 wins isn't great, but it's better than 0-11. That's where I was when I first started pulling for the Gamecocks. So it's a step in the right direction. But I feel like it's still moving in the right direction. We've got to do something for the offensive line. That's 100% sure. I think you guys could say the same thing. We've got to do better at recruiting the trenches. And if we can do that, I think the sky looks good for us.
Now, JD, I don't want to just kind of rub it in all for this entire segment. So let's talk about some of the games of the week, okay? Do you mind hanging on with us during this segment while we talk about the games of the week?
Let's do it.
All right. So the first one here is the Georgia and their playoff fate on the line. Georgia versus Alabama. Here's my thing about Georgia versus Alabama. We know that they must win this game. Dylan, I don't know where you're at, but could you please leave wherever you're at and maybe go somewhere quieter?
Yeah.
So here's the deal. Georgia, this is a must win. If Georgia loses, Georgia does not get into the playoffs, in my opinion. I don't think I'm worried about it, though, because here's my thing. I believe that Georgia is going to win by 14 or more points this weekend.
I think I don't know about 14 or more, but double digits might be accurate. I think Alabama, they used up some of their 9 lives on that last play, didn't they?
I do. I feel like that they did. And I feel like that Georgia seems to be that team this year that steps up and they know that this game is on the line. Georgia does not give up explosive plays, and you're not going to be able to just march down the field just running Milroe over and over and over and over. And I don't think that Alabama is going to get much going. This game being in Atlanta is still going to be maybe 60-40 Georgia. I think everything sets up for Georgia to absolutely dominate this game. Again, I think Georgia 14 or more points. Big Al, what you think?
Well, first of all, let's put out my hope before what I think. because I certainly hope Alabama is able to win that game. You know, I had a wise youth member once say, when Georgia loses, America wins. So that's kind of where I am with Georgia right now. I want them to be out of the playoff. We're tired of Georgia. And so, yeah, I think Alabama stands a good chance regardless of what we saw against Auburn. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was a huge Auburn fan during that game. You know, they absolutely blew it there at the end. You know, just kind of unforgivable sin there at the end of the game. And Georgia games in the past, and none of them have really close game. And honestly, just because it's Saban versus Smart, I'm going to say Alabama in a close one.
Okay, so Big Al's going to go with Alabama. Now, Dylan, you know, what's your confidence level Alabama winning the game? Because if Alabama wins the game, then Georgia gets one loss. But what if Texas also wins their game? What do you do there? Because, you know, I think conventional wisdom would say, oh, well, SEC, Paul Feinbaum can't leave the SEC out. So, but then again, Texas beat Alabama by 10 at their house, even though it was earlier in the season. And people say, well, that was just earlier in the season, Morgan. Even though I don't think Alabama's going to win the game and it won't be a problem. But what is your thoughts about that conundrum if Alabama does win and Texas does win?
You know, if they both win and you got two lost teams there, or a one lost team on both sides, you know, it gets wild, you know, for who gets that spot. But hopefully you won't have to deal with that. You know, Michigan, if they win their game against Iowa, and that Washington-Oregon game, dude, that's must-see TV on Friday. I don't care who you are. That's going to be a game for the ages worth watching. But if Washington fends off, that's another undefeated team. There's two. Florida State, even with what they're dealing with, losing Travis, they were able to rebound and beat Florida. Louisville lost to Kentucky. So you got to think Florida State's looking good in that spot. That's your third undefeated team.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to play the wild card role, where I think the best one-loss team in the country is probably Ohio State.
Ooh.
After that game against Michigan, that was their only loss. And
ouch.
They were driving, did that thing, you know, and I just
don't
the
know.
only issue they have is,
I mean,
they won't be a champion.
They won't even have played, and I absolutely despise any team that did not have an extra game to play. It happened to Clemson. Now, I think Clemson actually did beat Notre Dame, and so it worked out for them.
Yeah.
But I don't like that scenario at all. You already have limited amount of games, and you're going to give a team an opportunity to play in a playoff when they had a bye week, basically. No, thank you. Now, here's the thing about Florida State. You just mentioned it, but I want to ask you again. So, Florida State, if they win, you would put them in because their undefeated record matters more than not having their quarterback?
Well, the backup quarterback's got a win under his belt already.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 2 wins, actually, because Travis went down in that game, and they still won it. So he's got 2 wins under his belt.
Okay.
And ultimately, you know, you don't base a team off of one player. I know a lot of people in college football kind of want to do that when they have a superstar or something like that on the team, but you look at the whole body of work that Florida State's done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in their body of work, they're undefeated.
Yeah.
You got to, you know, even with losing arguably their best player, they've still managed to win games without him. So you got to tip your hat on that scale that way.
Yep. I think Dylan's 100% right there. I think this is going to be a fascinating weekend, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
And I think what's going to happen, I think Oregon is beating Washington. I don't think Washington is playing as well as Oregon right now. And I think there's a solid chance that Florida State loses that game to Louisville, which is unfortunately going to, if all else goes as, you know, to plan, that's going to sneak the SEC team in there, is what's going to happen there.
I would say Texas.
Well, Texas is definitely in. You can't, if Texas wins, you have to bring Texas in. That's the fact. You can't beat Tuscaloosa in Tuscaloosa and have the same record and then not put Texas in. If Alabama makes it in and they both win their championship game, Texas is in. They have to be.
Well, so if Georgia wins, they would be undefeated. Then you have Michigan. See, I think Georgia's going to win. I think Michigan's going to win.
So Michigan and Oregon would be in if Oregon wins.
No,
right?
I think Oregon's going to beat Washington, so Oregon would jump there.
Correct.
I think Florida State if Florida State wins, then they will be that last the fourth team.
If they win,
I think it's fair. I don't think that you should take a one-loss team and say, well, they're a better team.
No, you can't do that. But
I don't think you
my
can.
scenario is if Florida State loses that game.
So now, if Florida State loses, to Dylan's point, you have Ohio State there, and they're the next up, but they're not going to play. I think naturally Texas would jump and take that spot.
Of course.
So you would have, for me, I think it's going to shake out to be Georgia, Michigan, Oregon. And I actually think Florida State does lose to Louisville because it's the ACC and that's what happens.
Sure.
And I'm going to say Texas gets in there.
That's right.
Even if Alabama beats Georgia, I know this Paul Feinbaum would hate this. I think that's the scenario of all scenarios where there's no SEC teams.
Well, so what it's going to come down to.
Here's another one.
Go ahead.
Well, here's a scenario that nobody's really looking at. Say it goes a little wild like this. Florida State loses. Texas loses. Alabama wins. The Oregon-Washington game goes the exact same way, but the opposite. Washington misses the field goal to send it to overtime. How do you leave out Washington and Oregon? So, is there a scenario where two Pac-12 teams make the playoffs?
Well, if Oregon wins, you're not leaving them out.
Right. But with Washington's only one loss comes on, just like with the Oregon game, a missed field goal at the end to send it to overtime. And
a close
Texas
loss is what you're saying.
Right.
Well,
Texas gets beat. Alabama.
Well, then you could. I mean,
wins the game. But
in that scenario, I still think you leave Ohio State out of it. So don't try to sneak Ohio State in here.
Leave them out.
But I think in that case, if Texas loses and they would be a 2-loss team, they would be out of it. Alabama, you said Alabama loses, and then Washington loses. That could be a scenario where you have Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, Washington again, and Florida State loses too. That could be a scenario where you have two Pac-12 teams again.
Yeah,
that could be I could see that, and I actually would prefer that, to be honest, because
let's go one step crazier. Iowa somehow finds offense for one weekend, and they beat Michigan 17-14.
Stop it! Stop it! You're making my head hurt now.
Yeah,
right. But I'm just saying that Iowa defense only gives up 8 points a game. Crazier things have happened in college football.
This is what happens when a fan base doesn't go to a bowl game. They want carnage everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is what's happened to Dylan and the Gamecock Nation. They want a blow up of all college football. I don't want to be those really extremely rich 15 people in that Hyatt hotel talking about it.
This is what I want. I want Michigan. I want Michigan to win and be in. I want let's see who else. I want the Texas to win and be in. Okay, let's say Florida loses, or Florida State loses. I mean, and then you have Texas will be in. Oregon battling, versus Alabama for the last spot is what I want. I would love for that to happen. I don't know if there's a scenario out there. Florida State would have to win. Let's say Florida State wins, Michigan wins, they're both in. Texas wins, they're in. So there's your three, and then you have Oregon win and an Alabama win.
Okay.
And they would have to put 2 1-loss teams head to head, both champions. And Oregon has looked much better than Alabama this year, but Alabama's got the name, Alabama's got the history. I want that to be what it comes down to.
Do you keep out Papa Saban after that?
I think you have to, as good as Oregon's looked, but I have my doubts that they would do that.
JD, we got to go, my friend. Thank you for being a part of the show. Our token Gamecock fan, Dylan, there. We're going to be back right after this. Nick Roby's in. He's getting the show ready for the pregame show, 9 o'clock, Clemson, Alabama. We're going to talk about it right after this.
You're clear.
Thank you. Doom, 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 doom. This was a fun show.
84 months special financing with approved credit. Must finance with Ford Motor Credit Company. $2,500 due at signing.
Chancey Stuckey was fired, by the way.
I saw that.
I don't think he's going to be coming to
Want to
Clemson.
join a team that's making a difference in people's lives? Arthrex is hiring. They develop innovative technologies that help treat orthopedic sports injuries around the world and in your community. Arthrex is proud to grow and invest in Anderson County with the expansion of their state-of-the-art manufacturing campus. Join a company that provides exciting career opportunities, job security, and unique benefits.
Chaos. Chaos is what you want.
That's careers.arthrex.com. No manufacturing experience required.
I would be so
How
excited
can you
about that.
possibly choose the right plan?
Because you
when there
have
are
to
64 plans to choose
The
from?
way they look, I mean, they
Maybe you
dominate,
just
and
turned
they look really
26
good.
and need to buy insurance for the very first time. Maybe you just received a letter that
Like
your
your
Medicaid is ending.
call.
Maybe you just lost benefits at work. It can be overwhelming, but it
But I just
doesn't
think
have
he's
to
official in
be.
Florida State.
Give me a call at 864-467-8738 and check out our website, insure-u.com. And check to see if your doctor's in the network or compare plans side by side. One size doesn't fit all. Let's make sure you have the right plan for you. I'm Guy, the insurance.
Ramona, it is Don and Tim, or is it Qualk that does the pregame show?
All we do is simple.
No, Don does it.
Okay, Don. Okay.
Hey, Upstate. I'm Brady Brandon, owner of Samuel Property Group, where we buy houses without the MLS or cash. If you inherited a property or have a tenant destroying your home, we can help. I'm local to this area, and it's my goal to serve upstate homeowners by helping them sell their property quickly and for cash in as little as 10 days, without the hassle of showing appointments and strangers in their home. Fill out the simple form at samuelpropertygroup.com, and our team will reach out within the hour to set up your free phone consultation. samuelpropertygroup.com.
Your local company, Carolina Top Dressing, has been working hard all year to improve the quality of turf across the upstate. We understand the importance of continuing care for your lawn throughout winter. A vital service we're now offering is the cleanup of pesky leaves. Do not commit a turnover by missing the importance of removing leaves off a newly seeded lawn this winter. It could cost you big time. We are going all in on leaves, so our customers can be all in on football. Visit us now at carolinatopdressing.com for your free quote. And as always, go Tigers!
When Brent Wells started at QE Financial, he wanted to make sure that relationships were a true priority. Through tough times, life celebrations, and everything in between, being there for individual investors, business owners, and retirees through every stage of life has remained his top priority through regular and open communication, financial education, and guidance along the way. Whatever financial goals you hope to achieve, visit QEFinancial.com for more information. Securities and advisory services offered through the Strategic Financial Alliance Inc., otherwise unaffiliated with QE Financial.
Men, listen up. It's time to transform your life this season. Step up and take control of your health with Low Country Medicine.
Nick.
The ultimate game changer for men. Semaglutide will help shed those extra pounds over the holiday season. At Low Country Mail, we're all about you. Feel stronger, look better, and become the man you've always wanted. Say goodbye to your beer belly with the help of semaglutide. Visit Low Country Mail today, where real men get real results.
Welcome back into the Morgan Thomas Show here on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar in the Upcountry Fiber Studios, providing a stronger connection alongside me, Big Al, Alan Adams, and Ramona doing the ones and twos over there. Thank you for another amazing show. Everyone tuning in and texting in 864-654-7627. On the Adams & Co. Roofing text line, or calling as well. We've got a great show tonight and a ton of action after the show. As I mentioned on the Clemson Athletic Network, you've got Don Munson in the pregame show getting ready now for Clemson versus Alabama in the ACC SEC matchup, inaugural, I think, tournament here. So be excited to hear about that. I look forward. I always love listening to the basketball games. That's the best way to do it. So I can't wait to listen to the pregame show and then get the tip off at 8 or 9:30 rather. And we will discuss it. Now, Clemson currently 5-0 right now, just beat Alcorn, and Alabama also it just came off a big win against Oregon. So Clemson 5-0, Alabama 5-1. They had a loss against Ohio State, 92-81. On looks like Black Friday, they had that loss. So feel bad for them. But this will be because this is a early season tournament. This could be in Coleman Coliseum in Tuscaloosa. So that's one of those things about basketball tournaments. No neutral site here for that. This is going to be at their house. Alabama right now a 8.5 point favorite, and the over under 159.5 right now, according to the matchup predictor, 79.1 overall for the win for the Crimson Tide. Al, you feel like it's that big of a landslide? I mean, Alabama, former number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament just last season. Clemson, seems to me like they have a ton going for them right now. Very, very unselfish team that has gotten much better shooting the ball. Defense still a concern, especially at the beginning of the season, trying to figure what the best combination there is. Rebounding a concern as well. Do you feel like it's that big of because like 8.5 points is kind of a big deficit in basketball, it feels like.
Yeah, and I think it's not unfair. I think Clemson, like you said, they've gotten a little bit better at shooting the ball, but they still go on these streaks at times. Girard in particular, I'm glad he's shooting more. We talked about that at the beginning of the season where he wasn't really getting into his role, and we brought Joe Girard here to make threes. That's what we need him to do. We need him to shoot, and we need him to shoot the lights out. He started off really hot in the Alcorn State. I was actually at the Alcorn State game the other day, and he started out really hot, and then he went really cold for the rest of the game. For the most part. So it was kind of tough. It was kind of tough to watch. We need those guys to be on a little more consistent. Chase Hunter had a good game there. PJ Hall did PJ Hall things. I think he had over 30 points. It was a big night for him. So Clemson can certainly stay in this game, but they're going to have to come out shooting well. And that includes Girard, Hemingway, and probably even Hunter on the outside. So we're going to have to get something going offensively. And defense, it struggled against Alcorn State. Alcorn State, we were trading buckets there for the first several minutes of that game. It looked like it was going to be a lot closer than it was, and Clemson really pulled away in the second half. But, I like what I see from this Clemson team for the most part. I would like to see a little more, off the bench player like Jack Clark. I would like to see more from Chauncey Wiggins. I really think Chauncey Wiggins has high upside. I think he can be a phenomenal player for us, and he's just not there quite yet. And I hope these guys can develop throughout the season and really make this Tiger team dangerous going into the end.
Given Alabama's relentless pace this season so far and emphasis on driving the rim from back half court and then their transition offense, especially trying to control the paint and get some quick and fast open three-pointers, how do you feel like Clemson and their defense can stop that? Because it's going to be a big-time adjustment there. Like I said, Clemson is one of those teams, you see them scoring in the 70s and the 80s. Alabama's that 80, 90, 100 team.
Yeah.
So how does Clemson prevent that? Brad Brownell has been known to be that defensive mastermind.
Yeah.
Do they have the roster for that? Because it seems like they have more of an offensive roster instead of a defensive roster.
I would agree. There's definitely we're lacking a little speed out there on the defensive end. A lot of people are going to point to our best shooters, Girard and Hemingway, in that regard, and I think it's a fair criticism of this team. So they're going to have to, they're really going to have to, call the picks, have the motion and get out there and pop out on those guys so they're not able to hit all those threes, at least get a hand in the face type thing. But it's in Hall, of course, as is so important. Every single game, he's got to stay out of foul trouble. Is he going to be able to do that? As they're driving the lane, it's going to be fun to watch. But yeah, I think Clemson can certainly make some noise in this game. Of course, in fairness, I think they can do that in pretty much every game. They have a lot of big wins during the season. It did the same thing last year. So I think it's going to be a good measuring stick for the rest of the season going forward as to where we are right now.
Clemson's recent game against Alcorn State showcased what PJ Hall can do. I mean, he can be dominant on the inside. 29 points overall, relentless, down there. He's obviously preseason all ACC guy. Definitely their big time star, right? So I think that Hall's presence inside is going to be huge in kind of stopping the pace of Alabama and disrupting what they can do. I think that Clemson must be able to try to figure out how to stop their 3-point shooting as well. Because when you look at it, Alabama boasts an impressive outside shooting presence. They got Sears and Estrada hitting over 50% from deep. considering their efficiency, considering what Clemson did last week, do you think that Clemson can hang with a team that obviously can shoot three so well?
Yeah, I think we can hang with the team for sure. I mean, based off all the reasons I said before, and hey, we have the Brad Brownell factor, right? And I mean, he's the X's and O's guy everybody wants to talk about, and he's always, it seems like he's on the hot seat with the Clemson Tiger Nation every year. But yeah, he's going to have to find a good way to coach him up, because this is an athletic Alabama team, as they usually are, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Defending the 3-point as well. Chase Hunter, Joe Girard, 11 3-pointers against Alcorn State together. So I think those guys got to come back out and exploit Alabama's tendency to overreact and really get those, use that unselfish passing to their advantage to get those three guys open, to establish a balance between hitting those outside shots, kind of like when you and I used to do.
Oh yeah, of course. Just like we had.
Actually, Al, you and I were more of the just make it rain guys. I don't think Al and I were really the down low guys at all. We didn't have a PJ Hall.
No.
But that's the thing. Clemson has a PJ Hall.
That's right.
So he's going to have to be more dominant inside on this game. That's what I think. And then he's going to have to let those other guys be dominant on the outside. They're going to have to work together. And, if they need to score 100, do you think they can do it?
I don't think they're scoring 100 against.
You don't think so?
No, absolutely not.
But they can still win it, just not 100.
Yeah, they're not. I don't think they're getting to 100. I could be wrong. Maybe they score 120 for all I know. But they'd have to be really hot shooting.
Right. Yeah. That
like 85%.
I think that PJ Hall can have some success down low. To me, it starts and ends with him, and then those other guys to supplement in. Alabama faced Oregon in a recent game where both teams fought back and forth pretty hard, but I do feel like that Clemson can be one of those teams. Now some people out there say, well, I don't know. There's some fan pessimism out there.
Oh yeah.
There's some
always
fan
is.
pessimism. So there's some skepticism about how Clemson can match up, against Alabama's defense and keeping it within 10 points. Also rebounding.
Yeah.
I mentioned that earlier. Like, can they hang with some of the better teams, the better scoring teams, and keep their rebounding up? Because they're not right now. At least seems like their roster's not built to be a massively amazing rebound team.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with you there for sure.
So they got to get in there and they got to secure it. I think while the matchup is going to be challenging. I mean, you can't say it won't be challenging. 79%, I think, is the matchup predictor. So that doesn't feel very good.
That doesn't bode well.
But the FPI might be wrong. Who knows? Clemson has shown that they can improve on their defensive side of the ball. They can recognize the firepower. You know who they are, and you know how to clamp them down. I think Brad Brownell, of all coaches, can scheme up a good defense to clamp them down.
Sure.
So you have to have confidence there. Now, some people in the chat over on YouTube say, "Well, Morg, this is have they played a team like this?" And Ramon, people call me Morg. Okay, people call me Morg.
Yeah.
Call you Morg?
They're real tight on the text line.
Yeah, they're tight. We're tight. The Adams and Co. Roofing text line, we're tight. Now, some people say, "Hey, Morg, I don't know if they've been challenged. Boise State, Dayton, Winthrop, Alcorn State. Is that really a challenge for them?" Well, compared to Alabama, no.
Sure.
I mean, we have to say that. But guys like Chase Hunter, Dylan Hunter, the brother duo, I think that they have the ability to kind of show out tonight. If they can get open, get those shots out there, create the opportunities. Again, working with PJ Hall. This is going to be Clemson's biggest test of the season so far. It's a young season, for sure. Mm-hmm. But this is going to be it. I mean, they're ranked 23rd for a reason. They were a former number 1 seed for a reason. And it's at their home place.
Yep.
Now, that's something that we haven't touched on yet. That's the caveat there. Can Clemson show up on a big, huge test road game?
Yeah. They've done it before. Of course they can. Absolutely. They've done it before. They've done it in several seasons. They'll have some big wins at Louisville or Florida State or wherever it may be. I feel like, again, on any given night, these Brownell teams can hang with anybody. On the flip side of that, they can lose to anybody on any given night, which is why they've missed the tournament a couple times. So even though I still maintain the belief they deserve to be there last season, but hopefully we're gonna throw that all under the rug and sweep it into the garbage because they're gonna get there this year.
in games like this, especially if Alabama continues to be a big team, a top team in the country,
Yeah.
and that doesn't hurt as bad, especially early in the season when you lose against a ranked team or
Right.
you hold them close within 10 or less. I think that wouldn't hurt as bad. What hurt last year is those games where you're like, oh, they shouldn't have lost that game.
Right.
Oh my goodness, they shouldn't have lost that game.
Yep.
Right. This game though is going to be a challenge, but again, it's one of those things where, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready to watch this and see what this team can do. I have faith. Brownell goes in the transfer portal. He gets guys that can plug in and be immediate impact players and that can work together and really honestly take this team from a, Al, you remember those years where it was like struggling to get to 40, 50 points?
Oh, yeah.
It was all defense. This team now is not that. I mean, they can score, they can get hot, and I think they can compete. Now, again, it's going to be an uphill battle in the rebound game and the defensive game with this pace that Alabama has and the shooters that Alabama has. But, I think if they can work together and show, their skills as being unselfish and get those open guys, work inside out, I like the chances for Clemson.
Yeah, I honestly, we're good. About to end of the show is coming up real soon. I'm just sitting here thinking about how lucky Don is on the pregame show that we are leading into him. We've built up this massive audience.
We built it up,
and we're going to boost the ratings for Don Munson, and the Tigers are going to do a great job. Hopefully, secure a victory tonight. So go Tigers.
We've broken down everything: Clemson football, college football, transfer portal, and going to the NFL. A lot of the big news from Clemson. Now that we've broken down that, it's time for you to get ready for the Clemson-Alabama men's basketball game and the excitement that comes to that with our pregame show with Don Munson on the Clemson Athletic Network as they continue the analysis and real-time expert discussion on the ACC-SEC Challenge matchup. This is the Morgan Thomas Show.
CPFM 105.5, Clemson.
You're clear.
1560 Cowpens, 97.5 Spartanburg. We are the Roar.
Welcome to the Clemson Men's Basketball Pregame Show, presented by Healthy Blue. Healthy Blue. Choose Healthy Blue for your